After catching my wife with her ex-boyfriend. My wife immediately sent me to a rehabilitation center. After I came out, I knelt before her. Wife, it was all my fault. From now on, you and Jung Hao can do whatever you want. I'll even pay for it. My wife smiled with satisfaction and said, now, this is what a good husband should be. Spending 10,000 yuan is nothing. But later, she tore her clothes. With red eyes, she looked at me and said, Shai Kun Chong, look at me. I'm not dirty. Wife, I'm sorry. From now on, you and Jung Hao can do whatever you want. I won't complain, not a single word. At the graduation ceremony of the rehabilitation center, I knelt before my wife, screaming hoarsely, tears streaming down my face. A month earlier, on my wife Liu Ryan's birthday, I specially bought her an LV bag. Took leave to end my business trip early and came home. Opening the door. I saw her face flushed, lying in Jung Hao's arms. I was furious, but Liu Ryan said, a man should be tolerant. We didn't even do anything. Is it really that big of a deal? Jung Hao chimed in. Exactly. Back in the day, Ryan was the campus beauty. Marrying a loser like you was already a great bargain. If my family hadn't gone bankrupt. She would have been mine. So, what more do you want? I was so angry I smashed the vase in our home. But Liu Ryan wasn't pleased. That night, she called the rehab center, nervously saying, my husband isn't behaving. Can you fix him? The person on the other end instantly agreed. Don't worry. We guarantee he'll be a perfect husband. After this, he won't dare disobey you. For a whole month. I endured inhuman torture, running laps without sleep. Being beaten during military drills was an everyday affair. I couldn't even get a bite of clean food, let alone the occasional electric shocks. That made life unbearable. Some had it so bad, they lost control of their bodily functions. On the first weekend, when Liu Ryan came to visit me, I knelt before her immediately. I crawled at her feet, begging desperately, Ryan, I won't say a single word about you and Jung Hao from now on. For the sake of our marriage, please take me away. Even if you could just bring me to packs of instant noodles, that would be enough. But when Liu Ryan saw how pathetic I looked, she laughed, her smile enchanting. She turned to the instructor and said, you guys are really effective here. In just a few days, I can already see the results. Though I think my husband hasn't been fully trained yet. Better keep him here a while longer. With that, she swept her sleeve and left, leaving me nothing at all. The ridiculous part, Liu Ryan had used my money to send me to this rehab center. The whole program cost 100,000 yuan. So I continued to endure the hunger and bullying and the torment. A month later, at the graduation ceremony, I had no choice but to behave well. Seeing me like this, some of the women around started to envy her. This rehab center really works wonders. He's finally become a good man. This time I brought my kid. Next time I'll send my husband in. Liu Ryan, proud as a peacock, lifted her head, saying, my husband is the boss of a company, and I am a housewife. But he still didn't dare say a word of defiance to me. He even supported me keeping in touch with my ex-boyfriend. She lifted my chin with the tip of her high-heeled shoe and said, I'll do whatever I want with Jung Hao. Do you dare speak out again? I shouted loudly. I don't dare. Whatever my wife says, that's the way it is. Not to mention one green hat. Even 10, I wouldn't object anymore. Finally, Liu Ryan was satisfied. She reached out and patted my head, then swiftly signed the discharge agreement. Good boy. I agree for my husband to be discharged. I gathered my things and obediently followed behind Liu Ryan. My Tesla was parked at the school gate. Liu Ryan put on her sunglasses and tossed the car keys to me. With practiced ease, she ordered, take me to Jung Hao's bar. After his family went bankrupt, Jung Hao opened a bar. I used to pick Liu Ryan up from there. Every time, she would be completely drunk, her face flushed. If I asked too many questions, she would get angry. Jung Hao is like a big brother to me. We grew up together. Now that he's down and out, I'm just helping him out. Before, I didn't want to upset her, so I never asked. Now, I can't be bothered to ask anymore. I obediently stepped on the gas. Yes, ma'am. Jung Hao's bar was full of beautiful women. He was personally on stage, performing as a boy, dancing while enthusiastically selling drinks. Ladies, tonight your boy isn't holding anything back. If you feel bad for your little brother, how about opening another bottle of Ace of Spades? The moment Liu Ryan stepped into the venue, she was wearing a tight black dress, hugging her curves, her LV bag glittering in her hand. She swung the bag straight at Jung Hao's face. How could these old women deserve to look at you? I've booked the whole place tonight. You're only allowed to perform for me. Jung Hao smiled as he caught Liu Ryan's bag and gently massaged her hand, though his eyes lingered longingly on the audience below the stage. Jung Hao, relying on his looks, made tens of thousands in revenue for the bar every night. Liu Ryan noticed his thoughts still on the money and promptly turned to me. Swipe the card. How much did you make tonight? I'm booking the whole place. Jung Hao glanced at me. His eyes gleaming with cunning. And boldly named a high price. Tonight's business is good. At least 100,000. I obediently pulled out my credit card. 150,000. The payment went through. Jung Hao, fully satisfied, ended the party early, devoting his time to Liu Ryan. The two of them deliberately flaunting their affection in front of me. Even set up a game. A group of people took turns playing truth or dare. They purposely arranged for Jung Hao and Liu Ryan to eat a watermelon together, mouth to mouth. Liu Ryan, acting shyly, picked up the piece of watermelon delicately, but as soon as she let go, Jung Hao's lips touched hers. Among the friends was one of Liu Ryan's close girlfriends, who immediately egged them on. Oh my! Brother Jang's technique is as sharp as ever. Sister Ryan, your husband's still here. He won't get jealous, will he? Some even deliberately glanced at me, teasingly challenging. What's there to be jealous of? Liu Ryan and Jung Hao, this is a pure friendship that transcends mere male-female relationships. Someone like me from a lowly background could never understand this kind of bond. So vulgar. I merely kept my head down, scooping up more watermelon and handed it to them. Is this enough? If not, I'll get you another slice. Liu Ryan paused for a moment. Then, as if to provoke me, she raised her voice and said, keep drawing. See, my husband doesn't get jealous at all, whether it was by chance or deliberate. The next few rounds were all dares involving taking off clothes or lying on each other's laps. Liu Ryan took off her small jacket, the thin strap on her neck almost slipping off her full, fair skin. She had a few drinks and lay on Jung Hao's lap, her breath fragrant, her eyes alluring. All she had covering her was Jung Hao's jacket. Jung Hao even slid his hand under the jacket. It seemed like he pinched her, and Liu Ryan let out a playful laugh, twisting her body to avoid him. Watching the two of them, completely ignoring everyone else, their behavior becoming more and more shameless. I kept my composure, my eyes down, mind focused. I took out a mint-flavored package from my bag and handed it to them. Use this! Liu Ryan's body trembled, looking at me in disbelief. What did you just say? I repeated each word. I said, before I came here, I already prepared this for you. Use it! After all, aren't you worried about getting pregnant? Liu Ryan suddenly seemed furious, her chest heaving violently. Are you trying to piss me off on purpose? Shai Kun! I asked back, confused. Isn't it you who told me never to speak out again? You don't have to worry about me. You to do whatever you want, even in front of me. I won't have any complaints. But Liu Ryan grew even angrier. She abruptly jumped off Jung Hao, grabbing her jacket fiercely. She said without looking back, "Take me home," leaving Jung Hao frozen in place. He called after her, Ryan. I drove Liu Ryan home. As soon as we stepped inside, Liu Ryan impatiently hooked her arms around my neck, her meticulously applied lipstick smearing onto my face. "Shai Kun, you have no idea how I've been these past days. I missed you so much. Hurry, carry me to the bath." She was soft and fragrant in my arms, like a bird nestling against me, her head resting on my chest as she murmured, "After all, we had been married for many years." For a brief moment, I admit I was dazed. But it was only for a fleeting second. The whips dipped in cold water. The electric shocks from the rehab center were enough to wake me up. When I was starving, Liu Ryan didn't even want to send me to packs of instant noodles. I didn't give in. "Get down! I can't do this anymore." Liu Ryan's body trembled, her eyes widening in disbelief. "What did you just say?" I shrugged. "Thanks to that rehab center. Every time they shocked me, they would ask. Now, whenever I see you, I think of those electric shocks. I can't, not anymore." Liu Ryan, unwilling to accept this, glared at me. "You're really serious? I don't believe you." But it wasn't until after I had taken a shower and lay down to sleep in the study that Liu Ryan also finished her bath, put on the nightgown we bought for our wedding anniversary, and came looking for me in the study. It was only then that she realized I wasn't lying. Liu Ryan's figure was still well maintained, a slim waist and long legs, her skin as fair as ever. But she was nearly on her knees before me, trying all sorts of seductive poses. I just calmly looked at her, with no trace of the desire I used to have in my eyes. Liu Ryan finally broke down, leaving with a single sentence, "Shai Kun, are you even a man?" After that, she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. It felt like our roles had completely reversed. In the past, I was always the one begging Liu Ryan for intimacy, but she was always impatient, complaining that I lacked romance, or that I didn't respect her. Any little displeasure and she would give me the cold shoulder, banishing me to the study to sleep alone. For a long time, I even thought there was something wrong with me, so I worked out sculpting a body with 8-pack ABS. It was only when I bought her expensive gifts that Liu Ryan would fake affection towards me. Yet, looking at Jung Hao with his soft belly, Liu Ryan still showered him with money, flirting and laughing with him. That was when I finally realized it wasn't that I was inadequate. It was that Liu Ryan's heart was never truly with me. I gazed at the wall of the study, at the wedding photo of me and Liu Ryan, and my mind drifted back to distant memories. The Liu Ryan of today, a dazzling and glamorous woman, was now a symbol of elegance and wealth. Almost no one knew that I had met Liu Ryan at a foot massage parlor back in college. I had made some money from my startup. A friend took me out for a foot massage, and unexpectedly, I ran into the campus beauty, Liu Ryan. She quickly and efficiently put down her tools, not showing the slightest bit of disdain, and carefully cleaned my feet. I blushed like crazy, hurriedly trying to pull away. No, you don't have to go to so much trouble. I can do it myself." But Liu Ryan skillfully pressed the acupoints on my feet, sending waves of tingling sensations through me. "It's okay, I'm used to it." In the end, she didn't try to upsell me any packages or membership cards. Instead, she said, "You're so thin. Save your money to marry a good wife." She paused, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "But don't marry someone like me." At 20 years old, Liu Ryan was pure and pitiful, so much so that my protective instincts kicked in. I felt an overwhelming urge to play the hero, to rescue this woman from her plight. That very night, as she drove my BMW Liu Ryan suddenly leaned on the steering wheel and started crying. My dad gambles, my mom is seriously ill, and my younger brother still needs to go to school. I had no other choice. You won't tell anyone at school, will you? Even though I later found out she said the same thing to everyone. I still fell for it willingly. Because what she said was true. From that moment on, I never let Liu Ryan suffer even the slightest hardship. She never had to look for a job. Never had to struggle. When business was tough, I quietly shouldered all the pressure. But who would have known? In the end, this is the fate I ended up with. I laughed at myself. Shai-kun, from now on, don't be a doormat anymore. The next morning, I didn't make breakfast. Liu Ryan was very picky with her food. She would only eat the small wontons I made for her. If I didn't make them, she wouldn't eat breakfast at all, starving herself until she had stomach pains. Because of this, no matter how late I came back from socializing the night before, even if I threw up so much it felt like my brain was coming out, I would still get up the next morning to make her those small wontons. Year after year, Liu Ryan had come to take it for granted. But today, I didn't feel like doing it anymore. I made instant noodles for myself instead, with a huge spoonful of chili oil. When Liu Ryan woke up and found no wontons, she asked coldly, "Did you think we went bankrupt? You're eating this greasy garbage?" I remained calm. In the rehab center, one packet of instant noodles was divided into 12 small portions. Being able to eat this is already a luxury. I'm just a country bumpkin. I don't understand your refined tastes. Ever since we got married, Liu Ryan always talked about being a Southern Jiangnan woman, insisting on light, delicate food. She wouldn't even let me eat hearty, simple meals. One had accommodated her for years, not touching those foods at all. I slurped my noodles loudly, watching as the spicy chili and scallions made her squint and tear up. Strangely, I felt a sense of satisfaction. I drove to work, asking the intern to check the new quarter's financial report. The intern was straightforward, her hair tied in a bun, with a determined look on her face. She reminded me a lot of the Liu Ryan I first met. After going through the report, I stood up, but suddenly felt dizzy, gripping the desk for a moment before steadying myself. It seemed that the long nights of socializing had really taken a toll on my body. Plus, whatever happened to me in the rehab center, who knows what lasting damage it caused? The intern nearby spoke up timidly. "Mr. Shai, do you have high blood pressure?" I glanced at her name tag. "Shen Mo! How do you know?" Shen Mo smiled. "I graduated with a degree in health management." I nodded, noticing her simple attire. "From now on, you'll be in charge of ordering the office meals," I said casually. "Make sure to watch the salt content." I was in a good mood today. Her financial report was done well. She had potential. I buried myself in work again, forgetting lunch until my stomach began to ache. Right on time, Chenmo opened a thermal bag, placing each dish in front of me. I took a bite and was pleasantly surprised. It was a simple four-dish meal with soup, but light and soft, perfect for someone with stomach issues. In the past, Liu Ryan had never once bothered to cook for me. She always said only unambitious women cook. She refused to cook, claiming it was a sign of her high emotional intelligence, her skill in managing men, and her status. So, while I lay in bed, writhing in pain, cold sweat drenching my pillow, she would just sit there, her nails painted, scrolling through videos, and order me greasy abalone rice for delivery. But right at that moment, the office door suddenly burst open. Liu Ryan stormed in, sweeping all the food off my desk onto the floor, then pointed at Chen Mo and started cursing her. "So there's this little vixen here, acting all flirty, while I specially brought you lunch, and yet you're out here sneaking a meal without me." As she spoke, her eyes turned red, tears welling up. In the past, I would have felt bad for her already. Once, just because of a single word from Liu Ryan, I fired a top-performing female manager. But now, I felt nothing. Just amusement. Liu Ryan, don't even mention that I have nothing going on with Chen Mo. How dare you accuse me of cheating? Liu Ryan's face went pale. What? Are you really going to bring up Jung Hao again? I said. I already told you. You two can do whatever you want. I won't say a word about it. But that doesn't mean I'll be a doormat for everything. I'm just having lunch. Why are you accusing me? Liu Ryan let out a cold snort. People from poor families like hers, they're nothing but sliced actresses. Look at her fake innocent act, just trying to lure someone in. Chen Mo was in tears, but didn't dare say a word in her defense. I sneered. And how noble is your background? Whose parents are gambling addicts, constantly asking me for money? Chen Mo makes her own way, but you've always relied on men. Should I start telling people about your days at the foot massage parlor? My words can cut just as deep. Liu Ryan's face turned ghostly white from my sharp retort, and she stomped her foot, covering her face as she ran out. Only then did I notice the bag she had dropped. I opened it, and inside was a bowl of abalone porridge. I thought it was takeout from some 5-star hotel, but when I looked closely, the rice wasn't even fully cooked. The abalone was still attached to the shell. Such clumsy technique. It was obvious that this was Liu Ryan's first awkward attempt at cooking. If this had happened a month ago, I would have been deeply moved. But now, I don't want to wrong myself anymore. I already have delicious meals. So why should I force myself to swallow undercooked abalone porridge? Unexpectedly, by the time I got off work, Liu Ryan came again. This time, she came with Jung Hao. Jung Hao was sitting in the driver's seat of my Tesla, laughing awkwardly at me. Sorry, Shai-kun, he said. Ryan insisted on picking you up. It was getting late, and I didn't feel comfortable letting her come alone. Liu Ryan's hair was messy, and there were red marks on her neck. I really didn't want to know what had happened in the back seat of the car, but I remained indifferent. I opened the car door and got in. On the way, I even put on some aromatherapy. Liu Ryan asked me, "What are you doing?" I replied, "Getting rid of the smell. If you two want to mess around in my car in the future, go ahead. Just remember to light the aromatherapy." Liu Ryan glared at me, then turned to Jung Hao and said, "I want a drink. Let's go to the food stalls." She didn't care at all about my stomach problems. At the food stalls, Liu Ryan ordered a heap of lamb ribs and skewers of kidneys, passing them around for us to eat. I glanced at them indifferently. Jung Hao could eat them, but for me, eating them wouldn't make any difference. I just ate the fried instant noodles in front of me. Liu Ryan was displeased. "You won't eat the good stuff, but you'll eat instant noodles?" I said, "What's wrong with instant noodles? They were the hard currency in the rehab center. Now that I'm out, I enjoy eating instant noodles as much as I want. Is that any of your business?" Liu Ryan's face turned completely green. She raised her beer and drank straight from the bottle. Liu Ryan was probably feeling upset, chugging one bottle of beer after another. Before long, she was drunk and collapsed into Jung Hao's arms, her hair in disarray, her face flushed red. I've known Jung Hao as a sworn brother since high school. What are you overthinking? Shai-kun, why won't you touch me? Why won't you touch me anymore? Didn't you used to come running with just one curl of my finger, obeying my every command like a dog? Why won't you lick me now? I understood then. It turns out Liu Ryan wasn't used to a life without a loyal lapdog, constantly providing her with emotional support, worshipping her. But unfortunately, loyal dogs never meet a good end. In the end, they gain nothing. I drove the two of them home. Jung Hao carried Liu Ryan into the room. I kindly reminded Jung Hao, "Everything's ready." I heard murmurs from inside. Calm and collected, I sat outside watching TV. But before long, Jung Hao stormed out. Furious, he shouted at me. Liu Ryan called your name. I was surprised. Oh, but I don't mind whatever you two are up to. Who Liu Ryan calls out for in bed isn't my concern. Jung Hao slammed the door and left. I took out my Switch, just about to play a few rounds of games, when suddenly Liu Ryan appeared in front of me. She crossed her arms, staring at me. I wasn't drunk at all. I just wanted to see how you'd react. And it turns out, you really don't care anymore, she said as she sat on my lap, wrapping her arms around my neck. Today, you have to spend the night with me, or we're getting a divorce. I just kept my eyes on the screen. I've already said, I'm powerless. Tomorrow, let's go to the Civil Affairs Bureau and get the papers. Liu Ryan's eyes gradually filled with disappointment. Shai Khan, you're not even a man. I shot back. Being a turtle and content with it, I stopped being a man a long time ago. Haven't you gotten enough over the years? Let's part on good terms. After the divorce, you can have half the house and the car. Consider it my wedding gift for you and Jung Hao. In a fit of rage, Liu Ryan smashed a vase. Fine, divorce it is. Who's afraid of whom? She spat, then ran back to the room, sobbing uncontrollably. I didn't take my eyes off the game. In all these years of marriage, I had never played games so freely. Since I started dating Liu Ryan, she always demanded I drop whatever game I was playing, just to comfort her. But now, I figured it out. In the eyes of someone who doesn't love you, no matter how much you give, it's always taken for granted. So if that's the case, why should I keep wronging myself? Women aren't as fun as games anyway. Without needing to keep Liu Ryan company, I happily played through the night. The next day at noon, feeling great, I asked Liu Ryan, are we going to the Civil Affairs Bureau? Liu Ryan's body trembled. She shot me a fierce glare. You really want this divorce so badly? Calmly, I continued to fix my tie. Oh, come on. Don't put the blame on me. Weren't you the one who brought up divorce first? Anyway, I'm useless now. Might as well let you and my dear brother-in-law fly away together sooner. Isn't that just perfect? Liu Ryan's face turned purple with frustration. Stuck in an awkward position, unable to back down or move forward. It took her a long moment before she squeezed out a response. Fine, divorce it is. Who's afraid of who? And with that, she stomped down the stairs. I drove Liu Ryan to the Civil Affairs Bureau. It wasn't a holiday today, so there weren't many people. Our number was called quickly. The clerk, following the usual protocol, asked, have you both made up your minds? I responded immediately, yes, we've thought it through. But Liu Ryan's lips started trembling. You are now entering a 30-day divorce cooling-off period. During this time, either party can stop the process, and the divorce will automatically become invalid. Liu Ryan's face visibly relaxed. She was probably thinking, once 30 days pass, she just wouldn't show up, and that would be the end of it. But how could I let her off that easily? After finishing the paperwork, I took her to a 5-star hotel for lunch. Liu Ryan thought I had a change of heart, and she was quite pleased. During the meal, I opened a bottle of red wine, urging her to drink more and more. Liu Ryan quickly got drunk. I helped her into the room. I have to admit, Liu Ryan is indeed a beauty. Even in her 30s, she maintained herself well. Not a bit of extra weight on her. With her eyes closed, she still looked enchanting. But I pulled out her phone, took her finger, and pressed it against the fingerprint unlock. I checked her pinned chat conversations. It was a contact with a matching couple's profile picture with her. The note said, good brother. Seems like that must be Jung Hao. And below that, the note she had for me was loyal dog. Needs to be placated soon. I let out a cold laugh. I sent a message to Jung Hao. XX Hotel, room 520. My husband's not here. Hurry. I leisurely returned home, cracked open 2 beers, played a few rounds of games, slept peacefully under the air conditioning until dusk. I was woken up by Liu Ryan's shouting, her hair disheveled. She shook me awake angrily, saying, "Shai-kun, did you set me up?" I feigned surprise. What did I do? Liu Ryan, seething with anger, opened her phone to show me. "Isn't this message from you to Jung Hao?" I replied, "After you got drunk, I just came home by myself. Who knows what you and Jung Hao did after that?" I glanced at her. "Besides, I already told you I don't care anymore. It's not the first time, so why act coy now?" Suddenly, Liu Ryan started crying. "Shai-kun, Jung Hao and I only flirted in front of you on purpose, just to get your attention. The more jealous and angry you got, the happier I felt. But before, I never actually did anything with him. Please don't be mad. Let's cancel the divorce. I still want to live happily with you." I let out another cold laugh. "You say you didn't do anything with Jung Hao before, but now you did. I'm not canceling the divorce. From the day you sent me to the rehab center, our love was already dead. Between us, there's no love left." With that, I turned and walked away, leaving Liu Ryan crumbling to the ground, crying and shouting, "Shai-kun, don't go! I've already swallowed my pride for you. What more do you want?" For the next month, Liu Ryan kept trying to get close to me, hoping to make me change my mind. I simply moved into the office, immersing myself in work every day. Shenmo, this girl, she's really got some persistence. She worked alongside me tirelessly, never once complaining. She even brought me a bowl of stomach-soothing porridge late at night. Though it was takeout just like Liu Ryan's, it was better than nothing. After being tormented by Liu Ryan for so many years, I'd come to appreciate even the smallest kindness. When the 30 days were up, Liu Ryan made one last attempt, but unexpectedly, she found out she was pregnant. Liu Ryan had been feeling nauseous and had lost her appetite these days, and her period was late. Suddenly, she thought to take a pregnancy test. The result was glaringly clear to red lines. Liu Ryan cried out in fear. She came to find me. "What do I do?" I said. "What else can you do? We'll get the divorce papers, and you can go marry Jung Hao." Liu Ryan wasn't ready to give up. "But what if it's yours?" I laughed. "Think carefully. When was the last time we had any marital relations? This is clearly Jung Hao's child. I told you I don't care if you mess around with him, but I'm not foolish enough to raise someone else's kid." I took the pale-faced Liu Ryan to get the divorce papers. The moment we swapped our red marriage certificate for the green divorce papers, Liu Ryan collapsed onto the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. I kindly consoled her. "Cry all you want. I'm heading home now. Why don't you have Jung Hao come pick you up later?" With that, I left Liu Ryan sitting in the hall, under the gaze of everyone around, and walked away without looking back. When it came to dividing the assets, Liu Ryan was dumbfounded. Our marital property, on the surface, was only a little over $1 million. She was only going to get a few $100,000. That's when it dawned on Liu Ryan. "You spent so much money at Jung Hao's bar. Did you do it on purpose?" I shrugged. "You were happy about it. I was just going along with what you wanted. For all these years, I had shielded Liu Ryan to well. She always got whatever she wanted, never having to worry about money at all. She had completely lost any sense of its value. She never imagined that one day, once divorced, she'd end up in such a difficult situation. Liu Ryan was used to living extravagantly, and this amount of money wouldn't be nearly enough for her to squander. In the future, Jung Hao certainly wouldn't be able to provide her with such a comfortable lifestyle either. I moved out of the home I shared with Liu Ryan. Not long after, Liu Ryan and Jung Hao got married. I showed up at the wedding uninvited. This time, the wedding was much more modest compared to when she married me. When she married me, I gave her plenty of prestige. I gave her a dowry of 660,000 yuan. Even the engagement ring was a massive diamond. Now, Liu Ryan was wearing a cheap wedding dress. Her makeup was a mess. And that ring? It was a sad little 1-carat diamond chip. Even the entire wedding reeked of tackiness. The disdain on Liu Ryan's face was practically oozing out. Just then, the MC grabbed a loudspeaker. And with it, the whole scene became even more absurd. The moment the officiant, with a strained voice, asked, "Do you, the bride, take him as your husband?" Liu Ryan suddenly caught sight of me sitting in the audience. She lifted her wedding dress, and to the gasps of the guests, ran down from the stage, heading straight toward me. Ignoring Zheng Hao's face, dark as thunder, Liu Ryan shouted at me, "I don't want to marry him anymore. Shai Kun, let's remarry." The entire crowd was in uproar, but I remained unmoved. "We have nothing to do with each other anymore. You were the one who sent me to the rehab center and told me not to interfere with you and Zheng Hao. Now you're pregnant with Zheng Hao's child. Go live your life with him." As soon as I finished speaking, the crowd exploded in whispers. Wow, ... So she was already cheating before the divorce? Seems like they weren't even divorced yet. Cheating while married, huh? I heard her ex-husband was rich and spoiled her. Why did they even get divorced? And she sent him to a rehab center? Man, his head must have been really green. Weddings are a breeding ground for gossip. And with this drama unfolding, Liu Ryan's reputation was about to be utterly ruined by her own doing. Liu Ryan bit her lip hard. And suddenly, she knelt down in front of me. The sight of her in a wedding dress, kneeling, was shocking even to me. Shai Qiu and ... I know you hate me. You hate me for getting too close to Zheng Hao before. But I only did it to make you jealous. Before that, I swear nothing happened between me and Zheng Hao. I smirked, leaned down, and whispered in her ear, "But now you're pregnant. So do you really think anyone will believe you?" After making this whole scene, how do you think Zheng Hao will treat you after the wedding? Hearing this, Liu Ryan looked like her soul had left her body. It wasn't until Zheng Hao came over to pull her back that she lifelessly returned to the stage, going through the motions in a daze. But anyone with eyes could see it. Her mind was somewhere else entirely. Her gaze kept drifting, landing on me again and again. Zheng Hao, furious, smashed his wine glass and left the venue early. After my divorce, many people tried to set me up with new partners, but I politely declined each one. I threw myself into my work. The company had recently expanded its business significantly, but none of this had anything to do with Liu Ryan anymore. I realized a man really needs to focus on building his career. Otherwise, even your wife will start to look down on you. After a particularly intense period at work, I decided to take a break for myself. But when I arrived at the airport, I unexpectedly ran into Liu Ryan and Zheng Hao. Liu Ryan looked noticeably worn out, her belly slightly rounded. Her usual extravagant jewelry and clothes were now much simpler, and even her skin had started to look rough. I had heard that her marriage with Zheng Hao wasn't going well. Zheng Hao only cared about chasing women outside, while Liu Ryan had to run the bar and support the household. He often complained about her spending habits, calling her a money waster. Whenever they fought, he would always bring up the incident from their wedding, mocking her for kneeling before me and begging for reconciliation. "Didn't you want to be with him?" he'd sneer. "Why did you marry me?" When Liu Ryan saw me, she put on a playful expression, trying to appear sweet and innocent. She swayed gracefully as she came over to me. "Oh my, what a surprise! Meeting you here by chance." I gave a short reply. "Coincidence." But I didn't believe it for a second. Liu Ryan must have found out about my travel plans. I pulled out my phone and sent a message. When it was time to board, Liu Ryan realized the person sitting next to me was Chen Mo. She lost it immediately, charging toward us, and angrily shouted, "Why is this B asterisk TCH sitting next to you? We've barely been divorced, and you're already fooling around with a vixen." I sat calmly in first class, completely at ease. "Haven't you remarried? And you're carrying someone else's baby. But did I say anything? If you want, you can upgrade to first class too. Then you could sit here as well." Liu Ryan wanted to argue further, but the flight attendant stopped her. "I'm sorry, ma'am. The plane is about to take off. Please return to your seat." Liu Ryan didn't have the money to sit in first class anymore. Jung Hao wasn't like me, he wasn't willing to spend money on her. She could only glare at me and Chen Mo with jealousy. Stomping away in anger, I leaned over and whispered to Chen Mo, "Sorry about that. I just really don't want my ex-wife to keep pestering me." Chen Mo smiled softly. "It's fine. As your assistant, this is part of my job." After we got off the plane, I discovered that Liu Ryan and Jung Hao had signed up for the same tour group as us. But when Liu Ryan saw me swiping my card for Chen Mo at the duty-free shop, this time it was her turn to be upset. She watched with displeasure, remembering all the times she used to swipe my card without a second thought. Things that she could once easily afford with just a swipe of her hand, she couldn't buy any more. Meanwhile, Chen Mo could buy whatever she wanted without hesitation. Liu Ryan was seething with jealousy. In the end, she carefully chose the cheapest perfume. But even then, Jung Hao scolded her. "Why are you wasting money again? Return it!" He forced Liu Ryan, under the watchful eyes of the wealthy women around her, to shamefully return the item. Back in the day, on every trip, I would trail behind Liu Ryan, swiping my card for her. When money was tight, I'd ask her to buy a bit less. But Liu Ryan would insist, "No way! I'm your wife. If I don't buy more, you'll lose face." This time, traveling with Chen Mo, I felt incredibly relaxed. Chen Mo was efficient, calm, and we worked well together. The next day, the tour group went diving. I had always been a decent diver, so I was excited to show off my skills. Just before getting in the water, Liu Ryan suddenly approached me and, without any context, said, "Shai-kun, this is your last chance. Otherwise, you won't die a good death." I was baffled. "Who do you think you are? You act like I'll die if I don't listen to you." As soon as I said it, a chill ran down my spine. Before diving, I double-checked my gear and oxygen tank, making sure everything was in order. Satisfied, I descended into the water. At first, everything went smoothly. The dive was going well. Everything seemed normal. Just as I was exploring the vibrant fish around the coral reefs, I suddenly felt something strange. I looked up, gazing toward the surface, and there, floating above me, was Liu Ryan, holding a knife in her left hand. She had slashed open her own diving suit. Liu Ryan had cut her wrist. In the seawater, her long hair floated around her, while blood began to spread from her wrist, dissolving into the water. Through the oxygen mask, I saw her mouthing words viciously. Her beautiful face twisted into a grotesque expression. "Shai-kun, you won't die a good death." My mind exploded with panic. I had thought Liu Ryan would tamper with my equipment, but I never imagined, not in my wildest thoughts, that she would resort to this. She was determined to die with me. The scent of blood began to spread through the water, and it wouldn't be long before it attracted sharks. In the distance, I could already see large, dark shapes emerging. I kicked frantically, desperate to escape to the surface. But suddenly, a sharp pain shot through my right thigh. I struggled violently, but as I pulled, the excruciating pain intensified. It felt like something was tearing me apart. I started losing consciousness, everything becoming blurry. Just when I was about to give up, a hand grabbed the back of my neck. pulling me upward. I collapsed onto a small boat, gasping for air. When I looked up, it was Chen Mo. Beneath us, the sea was tinged red with Liu Ryan's blood, and her figure was nowhere to be seen. When I was recovering in the hospital, the doctor told me the tear in my right leg wasn't too serious. However, the woman in the room next to me, who was brought in with me, wasn't as lucky. Liu Ryan didn't die, but she had half of her face torn off, and her body was covered with deep bite wounds from the sharks. She probably won't ever be able to flaunt that face again. The disfigurement is the least of it. It's uncertain whether she even survive. That decision to call Chen Mo along for this trip at the last minute ended up saving my life. During my hospital stay abroad, Chen Mo brought me meals. When I opened the container, I saw the familiar for dishes and soup. The taste was also familiar. I was astonished. How did you manage to find such authentic Chinese food here? But before she could answer, I suddenly realized the food I had been eating during all those late-night work shifts was also made by Chen Mo herself. For once, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. I took a bite of the rice, and as I ate, tears welled up in my eyes. In the past, I thought love was about giving unconditionally, to the point where I spent years being a doormat. But I had overlooked something important. Love is a mutual journey, a shared effort. I wiped away my tears vigorously and held Chen Mo's hand. Chen Mo, will you be with me? Chen Mo, flustered, finally nodded shyly. During my time in the hospital, spending each day with Chen Mo, our bond grew even deeper. She was neither arrogant nor servile, and though she came from a modest background like Liu Ryan, her personality was entirely different. She wasn't a helpless, clinging vine, but an oak tree who could stand beside me as an equal. The more time we spent together, the more I became certain she was the true partner I could walk through life with. As for Liu Ryan, she did survive in the end, but she lost the baby. Less than 3 months pregnant, the medication caused her to miscarry. After the miscarriage, something snapped in Liu Ryan's mind. She became obsessed with keeping the fetus, insisting on preserving it. She even had a DNA sample taken and compared it with mine. The result left Liu Ryan utterly speechless. It was my child. The day before I returned home, Liu Ryan came to see me. Her entire right side of her face was torn, the stitches leaving a fresh, long scar that twisted grotesquely. Her once beautiful face now appeared grim and deformed. She knelt before me, clutching my feet, crying hoarsely, "Shai Kun, look at this. This was your child. The child I was carrying wasn't Zheng Hao's. It was yours. For the sake of my pregnancy, even if I didn't accomplish anything, I still suffered for you. Please, let's remarry. I'm ugly now. And Zheng Hao, he doesn't want me anymore. He wants to divorce me. If you don't take me back, I have nowhere else to go. I'll have no choice but to die." With that, she frantically shoved the paternity test results into my hands. I laughed softly. I crouched down, looking at her with pity. I've known all along that the baby was mine. Liu Ryan, always careless, of course, didn't realize it. But I had known from the moment she sent me to the rehab center. I knew she might be pregnant. In those days, she often had acid reflux and was throwing up. I noticed it the day I came home. Aside from luxury goods, I even bought sour plum soup for her that day. But I never expected to walk in on such a scene. Liu Ryan looked at me, her body trembling. "You knew all along, but you still let me marry Zheng Hao. You did this on purpose." The smile on my lips deepened. "If you didn't go through all this, how could you ever understand the pain I went through?" I stared intently into her eyes. "Liu Ryan, you won't die. People like you, even without me, You'll find someone else to drain dry. I won't feel guilty at all for leaving you behind. I leaned in and whispered in her ear. Oh, and by the way, about your attempt to kill me, since you were once my wife, I'll let it slide. But if you ever come after me again, I'll make sure you won't even have a place to be buried. With that, I turned away, leaving her behind, collapsing to the ground, crying in utter despair. When I returned to my country, the company thrived even more. I got engaged to Chen Mo. Later, friends from our shared circles brought news about Liu Ryan. She was being mistreated by Zheng Hao, who often beat her and constantly said things like, I spent so much money and ended up with an ugly wife. I really got the short end of the stick. I thought you'd have gotten a lot of money from that fool Shai-kun, but it wasn't even enough to cover your medical bills. Liu Ryan began to feel that if things continued like this, she realized she might end up getting beaten to death by her good brother. So she repeated her old trick. She sent Zheng Hao to the rehab center again. This time, Zheng Hao didn't make it out. He died unexpectedly inside the rehab center. I heard his death was quite tragic. His eyes were wide open when he died, filled with disbelief. Even in death, he probably couldn't imagine that his childhood friend, Liu Ryan, would betray him like this. Zheng Hao never knew that Liu Ryan had already taken out several life insurance policies on him. Although Liu Ryan received the compensation from Zheng Hao's accidental death, this time she didn't have the 10,000 yuan to pay for the rehab center's fees. As a result, most of the insurance payout went toward paying the rehab center's fees. And after taking care of Zheng Hao's funeral, the money was nearly gone. Liu Ryan, used to living a lavish life, had now developed a drinking habit and was forced to return to her old ways, becoming a woman who sells her smile again. After Chen Mo became pregnant, I took her to a spa for some relaxation and a massage. While she was getting her treatment, I saw a familiar figure pass by in a flash. A moment later, Liu Ryan appeared with her head down, carrying a basin for foot washing. She looked up and asked me, Boss, what kind of package would you like? I replied, Start with the cheapest one. Let me see how your skills are. Then we can talk about adding more. A young girl skillfully soaked and massaged Chen Mo's feet, while Liu Ryan washed mine. This scene. For a moment, I felt disoriented. 10 years ago, when I first met Liu Ryan, it was almost the same scene. But now, I am a billionaire CEO, and Liu Ryan with a scarred face is still a foot massage girl. Liu Ryan was massaging my feet. Too afraid to look up. She had undergone skin graft and reconstructive surgery later on, and now slathered her face with thick layers of cheap makeup. The scar wasn't as noticeable anymore, but the muscles in her face were pulled tight, giving her a strange, twisted appearance. The beauty she once had was gone forever. Now, crouching down and massaging feet, it would be hard for anyone who knew her in the past to believe that this was once the glamorous socialite. Suddenly, the young massage therapist next to her softly said, Your figure is well maintained. I see some swelling in your legs, so you must be pregnant. Would you like to add an essential oil treatment? Our Rose Essential Oil is all natural, safe even for pregnant women. I smiled and said, Go ahead, use the most expensive package. Liu Ryan trembled, instinctively glancing over at Chen Mo. You're already married? As soon as the words left her mouth, she realized her mistake, quickly lowering her head in embarrassment. Of course, I had recognized her from the start. After 10 years of living together, even if she turned to ash, I would still know her. Deliberately, I said clearly, Yes, we're married now. Chen Mo is the mistress of the Shai group, and we're expecting our first child soon. In the past, I made many wrong judgments about people and suffered a lot for it. Thankfully, now I have a happy and fulfilling family. By the way, why did you stop massaging? Keep going and add another treatment. I'll help boost your performance. Suddenly, Liu Ryan covered her face and ran out. I knew! For someone like Liu Ryan, who always prided herself on being in control, the charity I offered her was a slap in the face. For someone as proud as her, it was unbearable. Chenmo looked confused and asked, "What's wrong with her?" Later, I heard that Liu Ryan's drinking problem worsened. She was drunk almost every day, unable to get up. She had fallen to the lowest level, becoming a streetwalker. During her rare moments of sobriety, she would mumble to herself, "That position was supposed to be mine. I should have had a child with Shai Kun. It was supposed to be me." Eventually, Liu Ryan died suddenly. She reportedly had a heart attack and died on the spot, her body already stiff. No one could recognize the impoverished, fallen woman as the campus beauty she once was. No one paid for her funeral expenses. The police contacted me, but when they found me, I was in the hospital with Chen Mo, celebrating the birth of our daughter. So I simply replied, "I have no feelings left for my ex-wife. I won't be covering her funeral costs. Do what you have to do." Thus, Liu Ryan's ashes were buried in a mass grave like garbage. I turned back to the hospital room and held my daughter in my arms. She blew a little spit bubble, making Chen Mo laugh. I lifted my phone, took a happy photo of the family of 3,